As spirituality fills the air, people are automatically drawn to the iftar table at sunset when it is time to break fast. That's in Ramadan, the month of Muslim fasting. You don't have to be a practicing Muslim to want to join in. Fortunately, hospitality is second nature to Iranians and people of the region. So it wouldn't be hard to get a taste of the puddings and savories served and a sense of the appreciation that comes after a whole day of abstinence from food or drink or smoking. That's abstinence from dawn to dusk that goes on for the whole of the 9th month of the Islamic lunar calendar. It's tasty but simple, yet not cheap. Times are expensive and fasting can always do with a little help here and there. And that's what Ramadan is all about, really, doing good. So it's a win-win situation, both for those receiving alms in the form of cash or meals and those giving them out. That's believers, charities, religious organizations and the government. For a view of Ramadan in Iran and what Ramadan means to Muslims at large and to Muslim unity, stay with me, Leila Faramarzi, on Iran Today. Iranian New Year 1401 has brought our pre- and post-Islamic periods together. As the Nowruz or New Year holidays ended in picnicking April the 2nd, Ramadan began April the 3rd. A welcome coincidence. Mr. Jamshidi is a religion expert. He came to Press TV studios early one morning during the holidays to share his view.
در گوهر و در جوهر ایرانیان طلب عدالت، طلب
Iranians are essentially seeking justice and pure spirituality free of materialism, and that's why they are interested in Imam Ali's virtues, Shia's first Imam, and made him their role model. Apart from Imam Ali, the Islamic values, not considering those of the Umayyad and Abbasid caliphates we don't accept, have been the very virtues Iranians had lost. It seems as if before Islam was introduced to the country, the Iranian society had been shrunken and fenced, but this change in religion has somehow released the energy and made Iran the peak and zenith of the Islamic civilization. Iranians have become pioneers in every field.
It's a month of revelation, birth and death, cause for celebration and mourning in reverence. Ramadan is when the Quran was revealed. Hassan, second Shia Imam or leader, was born of the Prophet's line, and Ali, the first Shia Imam, was assassinated. Also, it's when a conclusive battle at Badr was won, and Muslims must fast, except in travel or if sick or pregnant. Now, what basically sets apart an officially Shia Iran from the rest of the Muslim world at large is that in Iran, the first Shia Imam Ali is officially mourned on the day of his demise or martyrdom, 21st of Ramadan. Similarities, however, between the Sunni and Shia versions of fasting and festivity are much greater than their differences. But similarity in Sunni and Shia versions of fasting and festivity is far greater than differences. And the deeper meaning of whatever rite and ritual is common to all. The basic idea of fasting is self-control, empathy for the poor, forgiveness, and appreciation of God's bounty. Self-control is believed to benefit the individual by elevating his or her spiritual nature or energy.
یعنی شاید یه اختلافات پوسته‌ای و ظاهری بین عرض کنم شیعه و سنی وجود داشته باشه.
I mean, there may be superficial differences between Shias and Sunnis, but the deeper we go, the more commonalities there are. What you just mentioned is true when we talk about the essence. What you said is only natural. The social and cultural values on a transitional scale can help shape a civilization. That's because civilization isn't bound to the geographical borders of a nation. We can't consider a government and its people a civilization. Civilization is the sum of several societies, several governments and nations joined to form a civilization. That's the preliminary supposition. What binds them together are the strong religious commonalities.
Ramadan is both a reminder and a practice, as I've seen Visit to Iran put it. It comes every year to remind us to be good to others, be they man, animal or plant. Mr. Rostami is University Professor of Islamic Sects. He joined us on Skype.
ببینید ماه مبارک رمضان تنها یک ماه
The holy month of Ramadan is not a month for worship per se. It's a whole culture. Ramadan is the month of cooperation, assistance, getting closer to relatives, helping the poor, avoiding and ending grudges, selfishness and others. This month is a time for practicing good qualities and avoiding indecencies. All these characteristics of Ramadan have given the holy month a special place in the Muslims' religious culture and official and oral rhetoric, especially among Iranians. Ramadan is represented as a special month in the poems of Hafez and other Iranian poets. Worshipping during this month is quite a great gift.
The deeper meaning of Ramadan is expressed or celebrated in ritual and custom and in a multi-tribal Iran in many different tones. Ramadan has a nightlife of its own, with cities coming to life from dusk, but with the whole family participating. Tehran, the capital, is lit up more than usual with food stalls open some from dusk to dawn and restaurants and cafes and stores open till really late. Eating is permitted from dusk till dawn, but not obligatory. However, it is not allowed to eat in public outside these hours in Iran. But as travelers often cannot abstain, hotel restaurants everywhere are open at regular hours, as are supermarkets and bazaars. Mr. Ahmadi Sadr is Managing Director for the Social Security Organization. We met him at the municipality's welfare organization to see what they've done to cheer up the air for the deprived in Tehran, given it's been a 2-in-1 occasion to deal with.
We have had a variety of programs scheduled over the past year. We have had detailed plans for children of labor. We have thrown parties for orphans. We were with orphan children at the moment when the new year began. The orphans who have no parents. Everybody wants to be with their family on New Year's Eve, and we were with ours. Together with Tehran's mayor, Dr. Zakani, we had a great event in Milad Tower for the orphans. We spent happy moments there because the children were happy. The 5-hour event started in the year 1400 in the solar calendar and went on until midnight on the first day of the year 1401. The children were very happy and had fun. We took them to the amusement park, served them dinner, and gave them toys. We have had such events during the year. We will have similar plans for Ramadan as one of the tens of such plans in the year.
For those wanting to participate in Ramadan ritual, mosques usually provide iftar, as do private homes. This evening fast-breaking meal, iftar, which follows the evening prayer, can often come as nazri or alms offered for a wish to be granted or to thank the Almighty for a wish already granted.
We predicted that we would provide assistance packages in the holy month of Ramadan and during the Nowruz holidays to 30,000 households that meet the criteria that we have set. We donated some of those packages on New Year's Eve, some others during the Nowruz holidays, and the rest will be distributed by the end of Ramadan, God willing.
A province particularly colorful in Ramadan is Semnan. Among its customs and traditions are nighttime singing, sewing a wish bag or bag of blessings, the henna or hair, hand and foot dyeing ceremony, knocking on doors of houses to receive broth and pudding, and cooking local foods. It's on Ramadan the 27th, or the last Thursday of the month, when women and girls get together to sew a bag each for themselves, in which they put some money, say a prayer, and blow on it, and then keep it in their trunks until the next year. In some parts of the province, people even go onto the rooftops of homes and mosques. That's 1 hour before sunrise, to sing poems and recite prayers. There's a purpose to it, to wake others up.
Quran's verses and different hadiths have underlined the sheer value of the month. The holy month of Ramadan is so important that verses 84 and 185 of Surah Al-Baqarah talk about fasting, its rules, and expiation for not fasting, strengthening piety, promoting peace of mind and body, equality between rich and poor, reviving moral virtues and avoiding vices, the existence of Qadr nights in the holy month of Ramadan, reciting the Quran in Muslim countries, and the spirit of empathy and brotherhood are among the benefits and virtues of fasting during this blessed month.
Then there's just the enchantment of some places, regardless of ritual or custom. In Isfahan, you can lose yourself to the evening breeze on Zayandarud or river, as you walk along its magnificent historical bridges. For religious occasions such as Ramadan, Mashhad and Qom are must-goes in Iran, as they're among Shia capitals of the world. Mashhad city in Khorasan, one of Iran's 31 varied provinces, is the burial place of the 8th Shia Imam, Imam Reza, and home to the biggest mosque on earth, the shrine of Imam Reza. And Qom, although small in size, is the burial place of Imam Reza's sister Masuma and the country's scholastic center for clerical studies. Time for a short break. We'll be back in no time. Ramadan comes with different flavors. The Iranian version and flavor must be rooted in Iranian culture and tradition.
و کمکه. حالا غربی‌ها میگن بشردوستانه.
The Westerners provide humanitarian aid, but we provide faithful aid. This type of aid is superior to the humanitarian one because it's given for God. This means helping others for God and not for a transitory feeling of pity. It's considered a religious and holy act. It's a movement. It's a kind of helping where they don't seek personal benefits. The Western civilization is at fault for several reasons. They realize that they're dividing society. They promote totalitarianism, individualism, and egoism. Grassroots and faithful aid are the exact opposite. It means that one shouldn't stop at themselves, but has to care about others too, and not expect anything in return. It's a faithful help, which means the one you'll be dealing with is God, and not the person you're helping.
Plenty more to come in our showtime and days ahead by way of words, prayer and festivity. But this moment is time for a quick news break, so back indoors to see what other media outlets have to say. What they're saying basically is what world leaders have said. Tasnim News quotes Iran's president, who hopes for Muslim unity in his Ramadan message. In separate messages to the leaders of Islamic countries, Raisi said, the scent of Ramadan is coming again, so that in this blessed month, the month of the revelation of the Quran, where human destinies are determined on a night like Qadr, it is an opportunity for Muslims and the righteous servants of God to practice piety through abstinence from sin and cultivation and purification of the soul, and to be among the pious and to attain nearness to God. He also expressed hope that with the blessings of this month full of mercy and forgiveness, and with the efforts of the leaders and thinkers of Islamic countries, and emphasizing the growing empathy and solidarity among Muslim nations, effective steps can be taken to strengthen unity and greater unity of the Islamic Ummah, especially against divisive currents and takfiri terrorism, and to see the elimination of oppression and injustice, and the establishment of peace and security throughout the world, especially in Palestine. The Tehran Times says, Iran jointly nominates iftar for UNESCO tag. Iran has submitted a dossier on the iftar meal to the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization for a possible joint registration between the Islamic Republic, Turkey, Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan. During Islam's holy month of Ramadan, believers abstain from food and drink during daylight hours and break their fast with the iftar evening meals, which vary from simple plates of bread, dates, cheese and tea to heavy ones. On March the 29th, Ali Darabi, the Deputy Minister of Cultural Heritage, Tourism and Handicrafts, said the dossier of iftar and its related social and cultural traditions has been sent to the UN body for further consideration. Darabi noted that the inscription file has been compiled at the suggestion of Iran and with the cooperation of Turkey, Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan, and will be presented to the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage Committee in 2023. The UN website reads, UN Chief calls for unity to build a peaceful world ahead of Ramadan. Highlighting it as a period of compassion and empathy, Secretary General Antonio Guterres said, the holy month of Ramadan is a time for reflection and learning, an opportunity to come together and uplift each other. In his video message marking the holy month, the UN chief said that he personally had returned to fasting in solidarity, a practice he began as High Commissioner for Refugees, a title he held from 2005 through 2015. Every Ramadan, I had the honor of visiting Muslim countries, fasting in solidarity and breaking bread with people. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic made that impossible, but I'm happy to resume this tradition this year, Mr. Guterres said. Citing the Holy Quran, the UN chief said that God created nations and tribes so that we might know one another, and called on people to work hand in hand for the safety, dignity and prosperity of all women and men. That'll be it for the news segment. Do stay tuned. Now, in talking of the Iranian brand of Ramadan, let's not forget the nature of the month is common to all Muslims as a reminder and practice of humane ways. And strategically speaking, it is cause for unity among them. Our guest tells of the unifying element of Ramadan in the sense it brings Muslim sects in Iran together and Muslims in the world closer.
ببینید ماه مبارک رمضان.
The holy month of Ramadan creates a kind of unity and convergence among the hearts of Muslims. Fasting during the holy month lays the foundation of such a convergence. No matter where in the world they are, Muslims are required to fast. Although Shias and Sunnis have differences in some issues, there's virtually no difference of opinion between the two over fasting. All branches of Islam share the same views on the matter. In fact, the holy month of Ramadan brings the hearts of Muslims closer and strengthens the unity of the Islamic Ummah.
Back to custom and culture. In Ramadan, known as the month of God's feast, that's when Muslims are invited to a grand feast held by God. Here's what his worshippers put out in Iran generally. Many break fast with warm water or a sip of sweet tea or a date before prayer, and then sit down to the iftar table after their evening prayer. Here's what to choose from for iftar. Tea always with zulbia bamia, the special Ramadan sweet, dates, bread and cheese and fresh herbs or walnuts and the like, saffron rice pudding or sholezard, meaning wobbly yellow, a special meat porridge called halim, which is nice with sugar, and a broth called ashreshte, which is made of noodles, beans and herbs, as well as cutlets and scrumptious starters, say with aubergine. As you see, not eating all day, every day for a month doesn't mean starving. Also at dawn, before the sun rises, when Muslims say their morning prayers and begin their fast, they set out a table similar to the iftar table. That's called the sahari or dawn time table. For some, it could mean starving, but the Tehran Municipality Welfare Organization tells of how it is an organization that has tended to that.
In considering support packages for the residents in Tehran, we want to be a piece of the jigsaw puzzle that helps the citizens. We have a target community that we want better access to. Our target community includes mostly those who are considered underprivileged. There are people who, for any reason, are dealing with addiction that threatens their families. There are women who are heads of households, and we have moral obligations to them. There are families struggling with poverty. The target community was identified over the past few years, especially the last year.
I wondered if they'd had more thanks coming their way or objection by those not receiving alms. But apparently my question was pointless, as Ramadan is just the flash in the whole year during which the homeless are provided with free shelter.
We identify those we see on the streets and talk to them and invite them over. We have patrol cars specializing in providing such services. The vehicles are tasked with identifying homeless people across the city. We have social workers on the vehicles. Sometimes people call the municipality's call center and report when they see a homeless person or one who's publicly using illegal drugs. The patrols will then be informed and get there and bring the person to the housing centers we have created across the city. They bathe and eat breakfast, lunch and dinner. If they are migrants and want to go back to their cities, we'll help send them. If they are homeless, we'll continue to help them.
In 2020 also, some 210,000 food packages were distributed among deprived families as part of the third phase of Iran Hamdel national campaign. That literally means sympathetic Iran. The campaign kicked off at the beginning of the holy month of Ramadan. During the campaign, which carried on into subsequent years, the first 4 days of Ramadan saw under 730,000 warm meals, under 97,000 iftar packages, over 210,000 food packages distributed among the underprivileged. The campaign was first launched in 2020, aiming to provide financial assistance to the needy affected by the COVID-19 pandemic.
مواسات یعنی از آنچه که داری به دیگری
It's a matter of giving others what you have and putting yourself in their shoes. You shouldn't always be waiting for the government to take care of things. The government has an obligation, but what about the people? Shouldn't they have a thirst for helping people? Well, we saw that last year. The last Ramadan was one of the most remarkable since the victory of the Islamic Revolution. There hadn't been such a worldview before. We've heard from our grandparents that they'd help somebody. But we're talking here about a religious aid movement. This is a social movement. Groups of young people would provide such aid packages to those in need completely independently and without anyone asking them to. Tying such beneficence to Ramadan is extremely valuable. Therefore, Ramadan isn't about mere spirituality.
Planning is not as easy as with a solar calendar. The difference between the lunar calendar, on which Ramadan is the 9th month, and other calendars is the rotation. They rotate through different seasons. In 2022, Ramadan started on April the 1st and in Iran April the 2nd. It's to be a 30-day month this year. It was to unify or coordinate Muslim countries that the lunar calendar was adopted by all, otherwise it's not as reliable as the solar. For official matters and everyday life, apart from religious events, some countries like Iran hence use the solar calendar. What the month means to Muslims at large is determining.
یه اتفاق درونی و فرهنگی که در ایران بعد از انقلاب به نظرم
Our studies and observations show that before the victory of the Islamic Revolution, people were mostly concerned with the superficial aspect of Ramadan. They believed the holy month as being purely ritualistic, meaning that they shouldn't have eaten or drank anything for several hours. But the change that took place, in my opinion, was that Ramadan's rituals became much deeper. We've gone past the superficial aspect and given it meaning. It doesn't mean that we don't adhere to the basic principles, but we don't stop at them either. In my opinion, Ramadan's rituals have become a means for personal transformation. We're now expecting a spiritual transformation during the holy month. We're seeing if we can develop our souls or whether we can stop a bad habit. We're not considering Ramadan as a month of mere hunger and thirst.
As the arrival of Ramadan is announced by viewing the crescent of the moon, it also ends after the crescent moon is seen again by specialists. And this is followed by the greatest prayer or namaz of Muslims. The last 10 days are especially important because the Quran was revealed on any of those 10 called Laylatul Qadr, Night of Destiny. Some people actually do itikaf or retreat into prayers during these days. The Shias of Iran celebrate the Qadr nights from the 19th to 21st of Ramadan, as those coincide with Imam Ali's assassination and his subsequent death, which was on the 21st. The 3 nights from the stabbing to his demise are known as the nights of revival, or Shabhay Ahya. After all, however, comes celebration. How the government facilitates fasting varies year on year, but the general idea is it gives out handouts in cash or kind to the less fortunate, and for employees it cuts down on working hours.
ما مراکزمون به قدری هستش که از همه کسانی که در سطح شهر تهران فعلاً
Our centers are spacious enough to house the homeless people across the city. There is no shortage of space to receive people, and we want to expand it further and make it so that the areas are divided for each type of guest. This means that the seasonal workers, the homeless people, or relatives of hospital patients wouldn't slip among those who are suffering from addiction. We are making improvements in that regard.
Like Nowruz, Ramadan begins and ends in special ritual or occasion, a month of abstinence from consumption and indulging in self-purification ends in Eid al-Fitr, or the fifth celebration, with family members and friends coming together for a spread, dressed to the nines. But do note, it all ends in the next month, as Eid al-Fitr is on the first day of Shawwal, the last month on the lunar calendar. Now, Fitr festivity is not to say the spirit of the month is forgotten. In fact, part of the jubilation is sharing and giving fitriya or zakat al-fitr. That's gifts in cash which are given to the deprived or dependents. That'll be it for today. Thanks for watching from the whole team. Do join us again at the same times next week and each week after. And remember, you can also follow us via Twitter, Facebook and Instagram via @IRAN.TANZANIA. Till then, have yourself blessed days ahead and that bowl of sholeh zard if you can come across it. Bye for now.